This Ryan Clark situation is so heartbreaking. You never want to see a grown man cry, but that's the situation we're currently faced with. Ryan Clark has been online breaking down in full stream tears after the ESPN firing.
When I go home, and this kid, you know, from the West Bank, all I ever wanted to do was be accepted.
Now, he's not crying because he got fired from ESPN. He's crying due to the severity of the unfairness surrounding his firing from ESPN. Okay, Ryan Clark will claim that the firing was actually rooted in racism and that his bosses colluded with other racists who don't like him to get him out the paint. They really did Ryan Clark filthy if you hear the full story. So there's an alt-right MAGA version of ESPN is called Outkick. Now, Outkick has essentially made Ryan Clark...
Hold on. Y'all so damn racist. Y'all made a MAGA version of sports. Are you serious? That like, come on, gang. Come on, gang. Like, y'all made a MAGA version of ESPN. I have never seen no shit like this before in my life. That's a different level of hate.
Public enemy number one for MAGA and their particular audience, because Ryan Clark speaks up for black issues on ESPN. Their issue isn't really about race talk because they love tap dancers like Jason Whitlock and Stephen A. Smith, who tap dance and placate to white supremacy, but they hate Ryan Clark for a specific reason. It's because Ryan Clark speaks up for black issues. Ryan Clark speaks up for black people. Ryan Clark does the thing that Stephen A. Smith would never do. That's why they despise Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark has been Outkick public enemy number one. They've been harassing Ryan Clark online relentlessly ever since the Kyron Lacy situation. When Kyron Lacy was essentially exonerated after his death, Ryan Clark took to ESPN and used his platform to speak up for Kyron Lacy and to admonish the bad cops.
Clear space for this.
1 second, please.
It's important.
Yes, guys, Kyron Lacy was supposed to be in the NFL. Kyron Lacy was accused of something and being investigated for something that he didn't do, and he died having to live with the guilt and the consequences of a guilty man knowing he was innocent. It recently was discovered that he was 72 yards away from the crash, that police and state policemen tried to coerce and doctor and use ways to manipulate statements that put this young man behind bars. They changed his joy, they changed his life, and eventually he took his own life. This was supposed to be a career, but at least he was supposed to be here. At some point throughout his career, I would expect to have said his name. So I'm going to say his name tonight.
Amen.
Kyron Lacy was innocent. Kyron Lacy should be here with us. Nothing will ever repair.
But honestly, what did they expect him to do is not only a black man, but also a father of a black child and also an LSU graduate. You thought that he wasn't going to advocate for that? Kyron Lacy situation was ridiculous, bro. RP Kyron Lacy, for real. That nigga was cold. Even as a human being, like outside of football, is messed up, but like that nigga was cold, dog. He was supposed to go to be in the league right now. He was supposed to like beat what? And he just felt that pressure, bro. I know, because they was trying to bury him.
Or replace the pain that their parents, that his parents have to feel and his loved ones have to feel. But we could say his name. There were so many stations that ran the fact that he was being investigated. So I wanted to make sure here with Scott, we could say that he was an innocent man and at least know that he has that as he rests.
You and I talked about this earlier tonight, and I'll just share with them what I share with you. I can't recall ever seeing something that made me react viscerally to the point that I felt like my hands were trembling to think that there's video that shows that this is not at all what happened. And that young man took his life. And so I will not say anymore. It's your thoughts here. I just wanted to echo.
Thank you very much.
No, and my apologies for forgetting that, because this is a more important thing than what we're talking about tonight. Ryan Clark, I appreciate you always. Please, yes.
You'll have to take yourself back to October of 2025 to fully understand how much of a big deal this was and how much of a culture war this was and how much this pissed off the far-right MAGA Republicans. Oh, they hated Ryan Clark for this. And then Outkick, because their base is far-right, MAGA Republicans, they made Ryan Clark public enemy number one. Right, there was even threatening to boycott ESPN over this statement. So ESPN came and made Ryan Clark apologize for saying that Kyron Lacy was innocent. Here's the thing, bruh. All right, Kyron Lacy was nowhere near the crash. Now they're saying, well, 70 yards back, he was driving, like he was speeding or he was like braking. you know, like the road rules, and because he broke the road rules 70 yards back, that caused somebody to go around him, and then that person eventually crashed into somebody else once he's 70 yards away. Man, all right, bro. All right, man. Yo, it sounds like people was overzealous and wanted to charge this kid with something. Like, that's what it sounded like. Because, yo, if I broke a traffic infraction, charge me for that. But don't say because I broke a traffic infraction 70 yards back that I'm the reason why 70 yards later they got into a car accident.
It's crazy because the same thing happened to me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was literally driving on 4th of July. Now, mind you, I did fall asleep while I was driving. Look, I was drunk. I was crossfaded. I was, you know, it was like 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and there was a lot going on. But I, you know what I'm saying, fell asleep, ended up hitting 2 poles. Thank God I'm still here. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the big God. Now, it was a car behind me that saw me crash and say they crashed because of me, but guess where they crashed? At the next exit. So if I'm at one exit, you crash at the next exit, that wasn't because of me. And they said, the police said when they tried to question them, they ran off. So it's just really, it's really crazy, bro. Like, people would do anything, especially like, I just feel like people that abuse their power in that way, like you're a state trooper or you're a police officer, or you're someone like real authority and you abuse your shit. Not only should you get like, you should get penalized for that financially, you should always also lose your title. No way.
ESPN thought it would be appropriate to leak that Ryan Clark was getting fired from ESPN to the same far-right MAGA version of ESPN called Outkick before anybody else, knowing they hate Ryan Clark, knowing they've been harassing Ryan Clark, knowing they got a vendetta against Ryan Clark, knowing their issues with Ryan Clark is the fact that Ryan Clark speaks on black issues. After Ryan Clark's own bosses leaked the story to the MAGA Republicans, they then learned, right, that through the grapevines, yo, the MAGA Republicans are not going to respect our timeline. They're not going to wait for us to tell Ryan Clark. They're going to drop it, even though they promised they will wait. So ESPN had no other choice but to remove Ryan Clark in the middle of his show, fire him and told him he can't return, so Outkick doesn't break the news while Ryan Clark is currently on air.
Crazy.
These people did this man filthy, man.
That's bogus. That's
now,
so
Ryan
wrong.
Clark responded back and he broke everything down on his podcast.
Using layoffs as a cover and a camouflage for what they already intended on doing. But there was no cause for it. Right? So because there was no cause for it, you couldn't just fire me. So you had to wait to the layoff so you could camouflage it and veil it, right? But here's the other thing. If I was laid off, like everybody else, it came out on Tuesday. Mine came out on Friday. I get the call. I get a text from our showrunner that tells me to call my boss. I call my boss in the break, tells me they're letting me go. He said, this is a very awkward call. This is a hard call. I could hear how hard it was for him. And if anybody was going to call me that was anywhere on the executive level, whether low or high, he's the person I wanted to, the way he's fought for me and rode for me. And he said, our friends, jokingly, at Outkick had the story, and we're going to leak it. Let me tell you why I know I was fired. Because during the season, after some of the Kyron Lacey news broke, there were people on our network along with me that said something about it. Both of those people apologized, as did I. I didn't want to, right? I was told I couldn't come to work if I didn't. And at that point I said, well, I can't come to work tomorrow because I don't believe I did anything wrong. Some conversations happened and we got to that point. And Outkick wrote an article about all the people that apologized, 2 very prominent faces at ESPN. And they praised them for who they were and how they brought this thing back around. And they bashed me, talked about how negative I was, and spoke about me in such a nasty way.
The motives for why ESPN leaked the story to Outkick even proves that Ryan Clark wasn't laid off and he was fired. Because ask yourself real quick, why would ESPN leak the story to Outkick? How does ESPN benefit from Outkick being the first one to put out the story with their spin on it? Because Ryan Clark's firing is inexplicable. See, ESPN can't come out.
Yeah, so it really, I don't like talking about it, but if we're going to take it there, a lot of these platforms, a lot of these companies, a lot of these celebrities, a lot of these It's all smokes and mirrors, bro. They don't really care about us, man. They got an agenda to push, and they're trying to push it on us. That's why we only focused on certain things that they want us to be focused on. It's not like a secret. You can't you can make a trend on the internet about certain things. I can make a dance, or I can make a song, or I can make like a viral video. But if I'm talking about like Palestine, or I'm talking about like other things or other controversial topics, things that get you canceled for, it's gonna get suppressed. It's really crazy. So they just try to silence everyone that speaks up about these topics, and it's unfortunate that they had to do it to Ryan Clark. I feel like he's a solid nigga. He's a little crazy, but I feel like everybody play football a little crazy. But solid nigga, you know, it's just unfortunate it had to happen to you, homie.